Hello everyone, welcome to Joe Consume Cinema. I'm your host. Not exactly the ideal vacation spot for an atheist, is it? And today we have a first-time movie reaction to the 2002 film City of God. So this is one that I've heard a lot about for a very long time, never seen it. The poster is kind of super famous because I've seen that image multiple times before. It's the picture of this kid who's smiling maniacally as he's pointing a gun at the audience. I've heard people talk about the film, but I don't know anything about it. Going just off of the poster, I'm going to guess something to do with child soldiers. I don't know, that's just a random guess thrown out there. But yeah, we're about to find out, but as always, please remember to blank, blank, and blank. Channel's doing awesome right now. We are getting close to that 5,000 mark, which is great. I've launched the Joe Consume Cinema Patreon. Every member of my Patreon gets a guaranteed movie request. I have the first season of The Penguin, the first season of Mr. Robot, and the second season of The Squid Game. You know, that's like 40 plus reactions right there for $2 per month. I think that's a really good deal for what it is. But if money's tight, you can always join as a free member too. You know, it'll boost the metric a little bit, help me out a little bit, and you will get access to a little bit more being a member, even as a free member, than you will just being subscribed here. So there is a little bit of added benefit to doing that. But yeah, any support is always much appreciated. You know, like, comment, share, subscribe, anything like that just boosts the metric and, you know, really helps me out a ton. I always really appreciate it. That support is what allows me to continue making these videos. And with that, let's just get right to the movie. So we're somewhere in South America, I take it.
Vai. Ó, tu tá arriscando tua vida à toa por causa de foda, hein? Sai. Pô, cara, tu acha realmente que eu gosto de ficar cara a cara com aquele bandido filho da puta?
What the fuck?
Eu nem ia achar que vocês eram...
Porra, só é chato. Pode ficar tranquilo que eu só quero o dinheiro. Vira isso pra lá, vira calma, vira calma. Acabou. Tadinho sumiu. Se foda, eles estão atirando. Vambora!
Wow. He killed everyone. He said he wanted to be a gangster. Yeah, robbing was one thing, but all those murders, they have to be caught at this point. And they have no idea what they're on the hook for. They think it was just, you know, stealing.
Moro, quando ele escolhe, eu vou onde ele quer.
Tá de sacanagem comigo, não tá?
Que amor que nada, cara. Tá de 7-1 comigo.
She's smart.
Ninguém contava pros samangos onde é que os bandidos estavam então. Que morte, Berenice.
Is pretty interesting. It sometimes stays on one place, but then it has this sporadic, you know, frantic movement about it. It doesn't lend itself well with subtitles, I'll tell you that though.
Escolhe, moleque. Quer tomar o tiro aonde? No pé ou na mão?
Bora, amigo. No pé ou na mão?
Na mãozinha, né? Escolhe um dos dois ali, ó. Santo dedo, né? Vai, filé.
Escolhe um aí, mata aí.
Escolhe um dos dois.
Indo pra lá, mano.
Cabeção! O corpo tá aqui, ó. Achou, chefia? Achou. Perícia! Ali.
That was some pretty cool misdirection. I thought they robbed him, but then killed him and ditched the vehicle, but that was something completely unrelated. They're befriending everyone that they're coming across that they intend to rob and then deciding against robbing them. Like this guy is into music and offers them a joint and is just talking with them and they're like, well, we can't rob him now.
Olha, não mais que 3 ou 4 horas.
Fez uma parada que é do contexto dele mesmo, Zé. Olha, ele é a mulher dele. Vem cá, filha da puta. Sai fora da favela, hein? Tu faltou com respeito com a gente. Tá escutando, filha da...
Vai dar um ataque lá na boca do cenoura, valeu?
Precisando da namorada, Zé.
He's not wrong, but I'm kind of worried that he might take that literally and then take his girlfriend. He's fucking crazy. Yeah, Benny is very relaxed compared to Little Z, and Little Z is just a psychopath. If he sees something he wants, regardless of who it is, he will take it.
A gente podia ir embora daqui. Esse negócio de violência me...
What the fuck now?
Tira essa porra aqui, moleque. Tô ficando maluco. Solta essa porra! Solta não! Solta, porra! Solta não, meu irmão!
Oh god, this is gonna be how he gets shot. Okay, I see the guy creeping up. Yeah, oh shit. That's the guy that Little Z humiliated and Benny intervened to save his life and now he gets killed for it. I think he was trying to shoot Little Z. Oh god, is Little Z gonna blame Rocket for this shit? Oh, Wow, that scene was well done, but god.
Tô o malandro mais responsa da cidade de Deus.
Vamos lá pegar o pequeno na quadra.
Yep, he liked Benny. A lot of people did. Keeps going after this girl. That's Knockout Ned, so I'm hoping he cracks him in his jaw. Come on, something good has to happen here. His family's trying to restrain him.
Meu papo não é com você não, moleque. É com teu irmão, aquele otário, aquele corno.
Eu vou chamar ele.
Shit. Gets started, and he becomes a real photographer.
Tira aqui, ó. Traz as fotos aí pra gente ver, buscar.
Pera aí, tem que tirar o filme.
Não. Pode ficar com a máquina pra você. Aqui pra mim, ó. Aproveita aí e já usa tanque de 4.
Wait a minute. Now, if they develop these pictures and they see that it's pictures of Little Z and his gang, are they going to end up in the paper? Won't that get him in trouble? Is that what does get him in trouble? Man, he's got police corruption, the execution of Lil Z, the kids doing it. He's got everything. Pulitzer Prize winning work right there.
Vamos falar no tal de falante vermelho que tá chegando aí?
Não, mas se ele vir a gente passa.
Yeah, it just continues. It's a cycle.
Esqueci de dizer. Autógrafo.
That was very good. Okay, took some time just to gather my thoughts. So that was City of God. Overall, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. So you have this story. I like how it's told out of order. You know, the film starts with Rocket kind of in the middle between the police and Little Z and his gang, and there's about to be a big shootout. We have a time freeze, you know, where the story goes back to the 60s, and we go, you know, sequentially from there up until we come to the end, you know, the end of the beginning, as they put it in the film. And it was really cleverly done, you know, throughout the film. I saw some influences from other movies, stuff like I mentioned The Godfather, because there's this one scene where the gang is about to, you know, go to war with this other gang. They start off with a prayer, and then the shooting begins, and it's this nice juxtaposition between this prayer being told and this gang war unfolding, and, you know, this massive shootout. That I can almost guarantee the way it was done and shot. They took inspiration from The Godfather in that scene at the end of 1 where Michael's at the christening and he's ordering, you know, the hit against all the other mob families. And yeah, overall I just really liked the story. You know, ultimately it's a story about abject poverty. The City of God is the place where they shove all the transients, and some people lost their homes to flooding. You know, they have nowhere to go, they have no income, and just shove them in the City of God. They create these favelas, these ghettos, where these people are trapped, and a lot of people turn to crime like the kids do. That leads to, you know, drug trade, just the formation of these different gangs vying for control of turf all throughout the city. It's just a chaotic war zone. You know, I said at the beginning, based on nothing except the poster to go on, I said maybe this is a movie about child soldiers, and honestly, not that far off. This place is a war zone, and you have, you know, these corrupt cops who aren't really doing anything. In a lot of ways, they're making things worse. Shooting the wrong people, arresting anyone and everyone, even people who are completely innocent. And yeah, it's just this endless cycle of violence. You saw throughout the film how it started with the legendary 3, the trio, and, you know, those were just like teenagers, but, you know, they had influence over these younger kids who they taught how to rob and steal, you know, shoot people at will, get into constant trouble. And that's where the story of Little Dice comes in. He's just this, you know, essentially this crack baby almost. You know, he's born in this hellish environment, and, you know, he looks up to these kids, but I think he was worse than all the others in a lot of ways, because you see throughout the film there are different types. Like, Benny was someone who was overall very chill. For him, it was just a means to an end. You know, I need to make enough money to get out of here with my girl. That's what he was all about, and I'm not saying he was a good guy or anything like that, because he clearly wasn't, but, you know, there's a clear difference between someone like him and someone like Little Z, who just enjoyed killing and, you know, wanted to be the boss, and his solution to every problem that he ever came across was just wipe them all out. But yeah, Little Z was a monster through and through. Even as a kid, you saw how he massacred those people, really enjoying himself. Then when he grows up, you know, he doesn't get any better. He just wants it all at that point. He comes up with this plan to wipe out all the gangs. The only one he doesn't get is Carrot, who actually stands up to him a little bit, and that leads to, you know, the really big gang war that dominates the second half of the film. But Honestly, probably my favorite scene still is the scene where Rocket, he gets fired from his job, so he's kind of desperate. He's like, I'm going to try this again. And he borrows his brother's gun with every intention to use the thing. But he keeps ending up in these situations where he intends to rob people. He kind of has conversations with them and then decides, no, I'm not going to rob this person. I like this guy. This girl is cute. Or, it leads to the conversation with Knockout Ned. And ultimately, he decides not to rob him because, he's really nice. They come from the same place. That story was pretty tragic, how, like, there's this good guy, through no fault of his own, Little Z just hits on his girl. She's not, disrespectful or anything like that. She's just like, oh, I'm here with somebody. Excuse me, please, and then he fucking escalates that into a situation that leads to his entire family getting killed, and it's just, I really hated that character. Honestly, this is a film that talks about some real shit. People live this stuff, and yeah, there's places in the world where poverty is so extreme that it's just chaos all the time. Drugs make everything worse. Gangs basically run entire cities. And yeah, ultimately, this is, the failure of the government to adequately deal with poverty, and when you try to brush it aside or just, push it under the rug like they did with the City of God here, it produces these really bad results. I mean, I did like the story of Rocket, how, despite everything around him, he still maintains his humanity throughout. He dipped his toes in the life a little bit, but ultimately it just wasn't for him. He couldn't do it. And he pursues this photography career, and it really pays off. You see how he's central to the story throughout. Like, his journey into eventually becoming a photographer is the nice little ending at the end there. And it's based on a true story, so there's a real guy who really went through this. I don't have a ton else to say about it. It was a really good film. I'm glad I watched it. At times, it was kind of dizzying with, the camera work, and probably more so because, I had to read subtitles in order to understand it. But, the constant cutting and moving around with the subtitles, a little bit difficult, but if I was a native speaker, I probably wouldn't have any problem with it. Overall, it was a great film. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So as always, thanks for watching, and peace.